This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
To the left, now he looks to run to the right, now he throws, and it's intercepted. Isaiah Rogers, look out, he's fast, 30, 40, 50, and he's loose! Isaiah Rogers is gone! An 87-yard pick six! First third down, Wentz back to pass, throws over the middle, caught. It is Josh Oliver, touchdown! Minnesota Vikings streak down the field on the undefeated Bengals and take a 6-0 lead, led by Carson Wentz. He dropped the ball. Isaiah Rogers picked it up. Away is gone. Two defensive touchdowns for number 2, Isaiah Rogers. Well done, young man. That fumble recovery touchdown runs the Vikings to a 23-3 lead, and there are no flags on the field. 62-yard try, right hash. Will Riker to finish the first half. Snap, spot, it's up, it is good! A 62-yard bomb by Will Riker, a career-long, kicks the Minnesota Vikings to 34-3 for the lead, and kicks the Cincinnati Bengals back to their locker room, and they probably want to leave town. First and goal from the 5. Wentz out of the shotgun. 2 receivers left, 1 right. Gun run. Jordan Mason up the middle, and he walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Mason has scored his first touchdown with the Vikings, and the blowout is on. It's 30-3 Minnesota. We're not even at halftime. Here comes a Minnesota Viking, and it's Arden Keyes, the undrafted Arden Keyes, who gets his first National Football League sack. And Wentz hands the ball to Mason, up the middle, into the end zone. Touchdown, Vikings! Jordan Mason has a 2 rushing touchdown game, and Minnesota leads 40-3. Carson Wentz on 3rd and goal from the 5. Goes out of shotgun. Xavier Scott to his right. Snap. Pass over the middle. Touchdown, T.J. Hawkinson. That's his first receiving touchdown this season. Carson Wentz has thrown 2 touchdowns today, and it's 47-3 Minnesota.
What up? Good morning, 651 Carpets Plus Studios. It's a Friday football feast. It's a little muted on a Friday this morning, but welcome. It's Nordowin for PA. I can confirm that the team has arrived in Dublin and are already, just fresh off the conveyor belt. Boom, they're Irish now, enjoying themselves, maybe some boiled bacon and various things that you've heard talked about throughout the week. But the team is in Dublin, so it's Nordowin for PA, but we're not going to stop feasting. And joining me now to kick off the show is Chad Greenway at Chad Greenway52 via X. Brought to you, of course, by our buddies at Grey Duck. My buddy, you're Grey Duck, so I guess it's brought to you by yourself. Yeah. How you doing, brother? The team great. Handled business, and now it's kind of a 10, 12-day affair overseas. This is something where it's kind of, you think about it, it's kind of annoying, and technically they're the first team to play 2 straight international games in different countries, although Jacksonville's been to London for back-to-back games a couple of times now, so not sure if it's like walking on the moon per se, but it's something different. And I've kind of gotten myself into this mood of being super excited, not just about this weekend, but the chance to maybe go 2-0 and hang out during the bye at 4-1.
That would be nice. I think the reaction to last week, obviously with the way we played, with the Isaiah Rogers been unbelievable, the Wentz pick at the quarterback talker, you have all these things where you kind of feel like, okay, week 2 was such a clomp, come back week 3, get a huge win at home. Now you have this back-to-back, which is really just, it's so unique. And from a player perspective, like you said, it can kind of be a clomper, but on the backside of this is a bye week. And that this is a unique situation. And after I look back at my own career playing in London, it was one of the most unique and cool experiences of my career. So they'll have perspective looking back on this, being like how amazing this was. And this trip to Dublin's going to be cool, man. This is going to be unique. I know the college football teams that have gone over. I've talked to some fans that have been over with Iowa State. They were just over there playing.
Did they play at Croke Park or maybe somewhere else?
I don't know the stadium, but they played Kansas State over there. Okay. It was a big conference game early in the season. They came back and it was amazing. Just the reaction to it was cool. So I think I wish they would have got there a couple of days earlier. I want them to acclimate, get used to the Irish, the Irish fare. Get some. You said the boiled bacon. It's a new one for me.
I think it's just ham. I think it's ham
really
and broth.
What it is? Yeah.
You know how my guy operates. He gets hooked into a name and then it's just in. I think it's just like ham and broth.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's probably just like a soup.
But then you go. The thing is, then you play this game, and these are massive games leading into this bye week, and with all the things that have happened from an injury standpoint, getting guys healthy now, getting back, our quarterback situation. These 2 weeks are massive.
Yeah.
And to go on the road and you got to go 1-1. You got to split. You got to go 2-0. If you go 2-0, it's amazing to come home and feeling pretty dang good about it.
I'm glad a lot of the football element, the way that I started it. But you had me thinking, when I went to London with the team in 22, and it was the double doink, and you beat the Saints. Sadly, Lewis Seen's leg gets torn up on that just hideous turf that they had under the real grass at Tottenham. It is kind of cool. I've always joked about, let's say standard home game, Vikings-Packers. It's a border battle at US Bank Stadium, or it's at Lambeau. I've always kind of laughed, and I'm just not a Jersey person anymore, and so I kind of laugh like Vikings-Packers, and someone rolls up with an old LaDainian Tomlinson jersey. Yeah. And I'm just thinking to myself, I get it, it's an NFL event, but this is Vikings-Packers. This is a border battle. Just wear a polo shirt or something. Just if you have no allegiance to either team, like an Urlacher jersey just kind of sticks out, and I don't get it.
Yeah, you can literally see that at the Viking-Packer game here in US Bank Stadium. And you see some random with a Colts Peyton Manning jersey from 2004.
Yeah, huge Aaron Brooks Saints fan. Okay, that's cool. That's
the
great.
randos. I'm just gonna grab any NFL fair I have in my closet, or that I found, or that I saw, or my buddy has. I'm just gonna wear it.
Absolutely, but to the end from the international standpoint. I saw in London, I don't know what it'll look like, but I imagine it'll be similar. There is truly this cornucopia, just an absolute, just the variety and the diversity of the jerseys. Mm-hmm. And these guys are as loud as I've ever heard in terms of, again, you just think about it, they're just there. And, if you've ever been to a Premier League soccer match, it's just kind of arms crossed, nobody stands, nobody drinks in the stands. Mm-hmm. You got to actually drink on the concourse, and then you see all of these 3/4 full beers just placed on any ledge possible as they sprint to their seats for the start of the second half. But it is really cool to see, as a sports fan, the true growth and the embrace that you've found from an international fan base standpoint. And so the ability to take that in as a player, I bet, was something special, as you talked about in 2013. And then even as just a rube, as I am, the ability to be part of that too. It's amazing. Yeah,
getting to play in Wembley was certainly unique. Obviously, watched a lot of Premier League soccer to see the history of that stadium and what it means to that country. To be able to play in there was incredible. And then you kind of hear the fans were kind of, it was like a smattering of everything, of everybody, of a lot of Jaguars jerseys, a lot of these kind of just the randoms. And they didn't like when we huddled. They want the constant action like soccer where it never stops.
Right.
And but we hit people and stuff too, so that's fun. There's a lot of fun aspects of it. My wife was always
people aren't rolling around and faking injuries on the NFL field.
There's my wife loved it. There was just light and dark beer, just like that was it. It was just like light, dark, grab whatever you want.
It's the only choice you need.
Yeah, the conveyor belt, just super quick, and you better know what you want and make it real quick. But from my perspective, looking back at that, the NFL has done a great job because now all of a sudden, us rubes who love football and you can watch it literally from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. depending on where the game is.
It's going to be a long day on Sunday.
It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a grind.
Awesome.
But I mean, literally just one game to the next, to the next, to the next, and to the prime time. And like sometimes, the slates are really, really good, and sometimes they're not. I think this slate is really good this weekend, where you can literally get 4 games that are just going to be crazy. And that's what's fun. And it's going to start off with a banger. I mean, the Rodgers Vikings bit. I mean, there's so many talkers of this game. Obviously, Tomlin bit. It's a huge game. It's a very winnable game. The Carson Wentz experience number 2. What's that going to be like as we continue to get healthy, get Darisaw, get Harry back in the back end? Can Isaiah Rodgers double down on maybe one of the greatest defensive player games ever by a defensive player? Every time I turned around, Isaiah Rodgers had the ball in his hand or was doing something ridiculous.
It was special on Sunday.
I couldn't believe it. It just didn't seem real.
The return of Harrison Smith. So into the feast last week, kind of the conversation was good to get healthy. And Andrew Van Ginkel, 2 sacks on 8 snaps.
Okay, yeah, we didn't miss him.
How efficient is that, by the way? Although we're still watching now, we're sweating this neck thing. So he hasn't practiced the last couple of days, and today will tell his story. And it might be another opportunity for Dallas Turner to really step in and go up against the Steelers' offensive line that, frankly, is putrid. They can't run the ball. On the left side in particular, I think it's Broderick Jones and Isaac Ciamalo, something like that. They've allowed 6 of the 7 sacks on Rodgers. So it could potentially be a feast even for number 15. But the return of Harrison Smith in particular, like how much that felt like that meant to kind of getting to a point now with 2-2 on the field. Like Flores can confidently dig deep in that bag of tricks, right? And it's an organizational standpoint of just where guys need to be on the field. And maybe it's hyperbole, one guy changing things as much as he did. And that's not even getting to how amazing Isaiah Rodgers' game was. But it's almost like the return of Hitman just kind of made everything work again.
Yeah, stabilize things. I do think when you have a game like what Isaiah Rodgers put together, it masks some things that could pop up.
Yeah.
When you have that many defensive plays that flip the game that much, and all of a sudden the Bengals are sort of in it, and all of a sudden game's over. What's real and what's not real? You can't say, well, we're going to play the Steelers in Ireland, and hey, we're going to get a couple takeaways and probably a couple tutties. It's not reality. I mean, reality is that's a unique situation. So what's it going to look like when we're in a back and forth game in a tight battle? I think it's really important, especially not knowing the health of Van Ginkel, is looking back at that Atlanta game, you have to be able to stop the run. And I think when you get Harry back, from a play caller standpoint, you're so much more comfortable, as you said, just laying out the entire playbook because you have Green Dot at linebacker. Now you have your leader in the back dictating things and showing looks and going back and forth and kind of giving the quarterback different looks. Now, Rodgers is as experienced as anybody and he's going to know what's going on better than most. But Harry's got sort of a knack of picking off Aaron Rodgers, and I feel like he might get one this weekend. But inevitably, defensively, it's going to come down to how can we cover on the outside man-to-man? And if we can do that, can we lock guys down so we can get our pressure home and get to Rodgers, especially with an offensive line that's been struggling?
Last week we kind of gave it to Ivan Pace a little bit. I mean, just what was up with that? Now, he was not singularly he wasn't the true focal point of just not being physical enough. He missed some tackles and things and just maybe made a couple of wrong decisions. And you can get in your own head a bit when you're facing a guy like Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown ain't Bijan. There's no doubt about it. he came back with a vengeance last week. And just, how many times in your career, and maybe the obvious answer is a bunch, like you've won a lot of games, you've lost a ton of games, but we're collectively as an entire defense, all of you sit in the room and you're just like, we weren't physical enough. Mm-hmm. We couldn't get off blocks. We made bad decisions. We didn't make the right play. Maybe we were playing too aware in some respects, or too much, too in our own heads, thinking too much. But then that next week, you just you wash that off, and it's just the domination that you saw on Sunday, kind of that bounce back that the entire team really needed.
Yeah, and I think when you look back at that Falcons game, we had just got to be really simple. Like, take care of your gap, own your gap, stay there. Let somebody else do the job, make the play. And I think what I saw with Ivan, again, Ivan is a playmaker. He always has been. Yeah. He's a guy that'll take a risk and take a chance. And what I saw on some of the bigger plays were him not what we would call shooting our gun, going. Like, if you see an opening and that's your gap, attack the gap. Take that space away. Take that space away from the running back to make a wiggle and get out and go another 20 yards, which is what we were seeing against the Falcons. And then the tackling. When you're playing downhill and you reduce those gaps in that space, now you give that guy less wiggle room, and then you go run through a guy and you take a shot at him. And if you miss, you miss. But usually when you take that shot and be aggressive, it's going to bubble out to somebody else, a teammate who's in his gap, who's doing his job, is going to make that play. And I think when you have a bad game, had several of them like that from a run standpoint, is you come back and you say, okay, we just got to do what we do and do it well. Be fundamental, stay in the gap, win your gap, and then somebody, whoever it comes to, got to make the play. And we got to tackle. It's really that simple. Thinking back to how many people out there listening are coaching youth football, coaching high school football right now. It's about gap control. It's not different in the NFL. The game doesn't change. Can you own your gap that you're supposed to be in, and then win that battle? And then have all the other 10 guys do theirs. And when the guy who's supposed to make the play, you got to make it. And you got to make the tackle. And you got to be in those one-on-one situations and win.
So I didn't look at your stats against Aaron Rodgers because I was in a good mood. It's about being in a good mood today, and it's about feasting. I wasn't going to try and go out of my way of, here's this moment where 12.
No picks, but a couple sacks, no picks.
So you took him down a couple of times.
Yep.
When you watch Rodgers now, just think about how tough it has to be. I talked about this a bit with PA yesterday. I just think about it. When you're at the end, and the thing that makes you great, first of all, he still has that. He mentally, he's as smart a player as there's ever been. But just think about having the intelligence, knowing pre-snap, I know this is coming, but then not having the physical ability to potentially evade it any longer. So if you know that you had 2.5 seconds and you're so damn smart like Rodgers, that's locked in. That's natural. Don't even have to think about it. Playing free. But now you have to. Now 2.5 seconds is 2 because you actually have to preempt what you see coming because physically you're not as fast enough. You're one wrong step from another calf injury. And he's kind of statuesque at this age of his career. I just can't imagine what that's like when you're at the end and having to continue to evolve and continue to grow, to in some ways compensate for what you're no longer able to do.
Yeah, I think I look back to the only example I can give is when Brett was here when he was 40. Right, and Brett came in and had statistically, I think, his best season ever in 2009.
It was like 33 or 34-7.
Yeah, one of them certainly was more efficient with the football than Brett was typically, but he was a different player. Rodgers has always been, you think back to Rodgers' career and the Hail Mary throws he's hit against the Cardinals and some of these other teams in the playoffs in these big moments, he's always able to use his feet and throw from these different levels on the run, different directions, and still be really accurate. Look at his numbers from an interception to a touchdown interception ratio were ridiculous over his career.
Oh, yeah.
And his efficiency with the ball. Well, now all of a sudden, think about the guys that he had and the weapons he had. Now, he never played with always the best roster in Green Bay, but he had a lot of really good weapons that he was able to count on. And those years when he would struggle a little bit more, he didn't have them. Now you look at the weapons he's throwing to the offensive line he's dealing with, and now you're more of a statue than you were before. It's just not a good combination to have. Now, if he walks into a roster at 41 years old, wherever he is, and he's got a stable offensive line who can protect, a running back he can hand it off to, and receivers like the ones we have in our arsenal.
Oh yeah,
I feel like it's a different animal because now you have these guys that can win one-on-ones, and I can guarantee I'm going to put that ball on the spot. Now I may not be able to move out in the pocket, and you may not be able to boot me out, but I can definitely hit these spots. We need to make sure that we contain him, make him throw from that spot, put pressure on him constantly. You're not going to confuse this guy. You're just not. but you got to go make a play when you have a chance to make a play, and we got to contain him, keep him in, and then get after him, and he'll get skittish with his feet, and he'll probably have Ivan Pace will probably tip one to Harry, and Harry might take it back in Ireland.
And I don't know, I'm not trying to bring up bad stuff here.
Why'd you go deep diving when I was talking?
I don't want you to lose sleep because because things pop in my head because I'm neurotic and weird. And the 2016 game at Lambeau, if you remember it, Adam Thielen has 200 yards rushing.
Was that the game we tied him? No.
That was 2013. That was Matt Flynn versus.
Oh, trust me, I remember.
Was that Ponder and Matt Flynn? We may have had a backup that game too.
It was.
I don't recall. But Thielen goes for 200 in that game. You're chasing him all game, but it's difficult for me, even though he played for the team that I loathe the most. Watching someone have to make some of those changes. Watching Brett so feeble when he was taken down by Corey Wooten and his career is effectively over. He was the nemesis as a Vikings fan for so long, but when you watch him, it's almost over. It's kind of similar with Rodgers, and I remember that 2016 game because we're talking about his mobility. You remember him shake on Xavier Rhodes?
No, I don't remember that.
It was just before half, and everything's going bad. I think. Oh my goodness! I gotta find. I'm pretty sure Jordy Nelson had 2 touchdowns in the first half here.
That sounds about right.
It was Devontae. We're rolling out Kai Forbath at the time for field goals. We're matching touchdowns with field goals, and it was like an 8-yard run at the doorstep. He rolls near side going right to left, and just does this shimmy hip shake on Rhodes. And I loved Xavier when he was here, made some plays. Xavier dropped his jockstrap right there, and Rodgers found his way in. There was probably a championship belt-related move.
Brutal.
And it was brutal, but he can't do that anymore.
Right.
So to contain him and frustrate him, Hargrave and Allen, they've done this at a high level for at least a couple of years, I think. The ability to attack him right in that house right there in the pocket.
Yep.
That's a recipe for disaster for the Steelers. I think
is,
on Sunday.
And we got to control that part of the game. We can't let the running game get going. We have to be able to make them one-dimensional, and we have to be able to pin our ears back from a rush standpoint and get after them. Now we can get interesting with coverages, and we have, again, having Harry back allows you to do some of that, be more versatile. Yeah. But we have to get to that spot. We have to be able. They're going to test our run defense, no doubt. Why would you not? And part of the way you can do that and control some of the game is offensively. You score. You get 7s rather than holding up for 3s. If you keep getting 7s, you put pressure on them to get out of their run game and make them one-dimensional. Now we can pin our ears back and go get them.
Well, that was part of, and in the end, it was a blowout. And Isaiah Rodgers is and probably should be the focal point of that game. I didn't think Carson Wentz lit the world on fire, but he was efficient. And you saw maybe a calmness, I think, with him at the helm. But it can be as easy as just scoring first. I mean, just kind of the ABCs of it. I know that, wow, hot take, Nord, score first. Yes. An element of this KO offense has been about, not talking about like 15 best. Like, we're going to put you at a deficit as early as possible and make you play catch up. And we're coming out of the gates with our hair on fire. And just the efficiency of that drive. We saw 3 and outs, a lot of punts. We saw a lot of just a discombobulation of the offense the first 2 weeks. And one day you find your way to victory at Soldier Field. The next week you're chasing Bijan. But scoring first and out of the gates, what Carson was able to do, aided by a couple of penalties, but also aided by Jordan Mason, which is important. But Carson just made the right decisions. You go up 7-0. You put Brown in a spot on the road where he's got to come above. He's got to rise above. And I think in some ways that, making them chase, I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, and I think getting the offense into the red zone and then getting 7s is the biggest deal, because these red zone defenses are so tough, and so when that field gets kind of shrunk down, that's why the Jordan Mason bit's so big, is we have a power back that we can get something inside the 20. Is you got to finish drives. And a quick Rodgers story before we move on. Aaron Henderson, myself, were playing linebacker against Raj in Green Bay. And it was like 4-down offense. They're trying to run the clock out. We're trying to come from behind and get a stop.
Yeah.
He motions a tight end across the formation, and Aaron didn't adjust how we were supposed to adjust.
Uh-oh. So you put Aaron on blast here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I made several mistakes. Trust me. It was just the situation. And Rodgers points to Aaron and says, "You need to be a little bit wider," because he knew exactly where he was supposed to be aligned in the call.
Come on.
And I was just like, just to know that in that moment, to know the defense we were going to be in, to know the situation. Like, of course, I had seen that motion in that set before too, but to be able to diagnose exactly what play they're going to run would be really challenging. And obviously he had done that and know, like, he's helping us line up against him. Now, Aaron Henderson's a great football player, but in that case, it was just hilarious. We looked at each other like, what is this?
Yeah, you didn't.
And just his capacity to retain and take information is just next level.
Did you make the stop?
No, I mean, no, they beat us. They beat us. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, it's a different Aaron Rodgers. It's a different incarnation of 12, which I think is now 8. I'm feeling dumb with he's definitely not 12 in Pittsburgh. I think he's 8.
He's 8, I think. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, we'll move on from that and look at our offense and the ability our squad has to make that team chase and not put us in a spot where we're trying to outthink future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. Chad Greenway's in studio. It's all part of a TimberTech set list, 9 to noon. Nordo in for PA. One more segment with Chad, and then we'll transition to Gophers football for an extended segment with Mike Grimm, voice of Golden Gopher football. He's going to jump in studio before he heads to morning practice. Then at 10 o'clock, my fan line cohort, Ron Johnson's going to join me from his basement. Excited to chat with him and pump up the game. Kegs and eggs on Saturday, doing fan line around lunchtime. Not bad for a Sunday full of football. And then at 11 o'clock, Paul Charchian is going to join from Utah. A lot of people in their bunkers today joining 9 to noon, but I'm excited to do it. And we're going to break down this game and hear what Paul Charchian thinks will take place at Croke Park on Sunday morning here, Sunday afternoon in Dublin, Ireland. Devin produces, and I'm Nordo in for PA. When we return, more with Chad and focus specifically on Carson Wentz Take 2. That's next right here on The Fan. It's for the culture. It's for 9 to noon. It's for our freaking guests like Chad Greenway on a Friday. And you know what? If it takes me an extra 20 minutes to cut it out of the podcast, I don't care. It's so stupid that we can't play our favorite freaking music.
That's tough.
Okay. Chad Greenway in studio. Thanks to Grey Duck. Anything fresh with Grey Duck?
Yeah, nothing crazy fresh. Had a great summer into a fall.
We got a sports app. We got vodka. Yeah, we got seltzers. Man, you're busy, dude.
We got some stuff. We got 4 kids running around like crazy. So, yeah, I'm doing the song and dance like every other parent out there right now. Fall's crazy, but it's fun and love this week when you get the weather like this. Stayed at a high school soccer game last night. It was just wonderful. And so it's fun. Enjoying it while we can.
The second edition of Carson Wentz. And it's kind of been the talk, like, what if he balls out, what it lights out, like big, tough decisions for the coach. Thankfully, and he said it himself, it's not a decision that Kevin O'Connell has to make this week. But I'm curious, if you're Carson Wentz, are you playing as free in some ways as you did a week ago? Or now, if you're Carson Wentz, are you starting to feel the fact that, well, the kid's hurt, and I know he's the future plan, but I still got something in me here. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering how he evolves into performance number 2, what I believe will be performance number 3 next week against the Browns. Like, where do you think Carson's head is at?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in a position where he obviously is going to keep playing football after this. Yeah. This year. This is not it.
He's not retiring.
Now, he's probably looking at this situation as like, okay, like anybody, I want to be, I've seen what happened to Sam Darnold. I've seen what KOC can do to these quarterbacks. I'm going to come in. Can I reinvigorate my career? Can I go now a couple games pop in, right? Opportunity presents itself because he could have gone through this whole season not taking one snap.
Yep.
All of a sudden, now this is in front of him. I think he's veteran enough and knows the league now since he's been, 6 teams, 6 years, 6 coordinators, the whole bit. Is he understands the game and he knows though, but this is a real opportunity because we all know every team is looking for a solid starting quarterback they can count on, even if they got a young guy coming in, just like the situation we're in now. These are opportunities for him to advance his career for the next couple of years. And I think he's going to think about it that way about if I keep winning, that's good for me. If I keep winning, that's good for this organization. And again, we don't need him to go, if we need him to throw the ball 35 times, we're in a bad spot.
Yes,
we're behind. Yes. We can't run the ball. Defense isn't playing well. We have the ball too much. The issue, and we need to throw it, so it means we're behind. Point is he threw the ball 20 times, I think.
Yeah, 14 to 20, something like that.
That's money. When we beat the Bears, I think young guy threw it 17, maybe 19 in that range.
Low number, something. I think he may have been 20 or 21.
That's the winning spot, though, for a quarterback to throw the ball between 15 and 25 times in controlled situations because we have a defense that's playing well. We're running the football well. Now, I know it's been well planned. We want to have the ball more. We're not controlling the game clock. We're not controlling the tempo of these games. Even in winning against the Bengals, I'm pretty sure they still had more plays than us, which would make more sense at the end.
Bengals was first actually, the Vikings did out did outplay them.
It's become a problem. And the issue
but
is
it was
what?
like 58-53 or something.
Like the issue is we got to be able to control the game, run the football.
Yeah.
Advance 3rd and 4s, advance 2nd and 8s, and get first downs and keep the clock and get rhythm on offense. And I think when you talked about how steady he was, it was more this idea of like, well, they're giving me this, I'm just going to make this throw and we're going to get a first down.
Yeah.
It wasn't some unbelievable ball down the sideline for a 60-yard touchdown. It was like, we're going to continue to make drives. We're going to put the ball in a good spot where we get a penalty call. We're going to just make the right play. Just keep doing that and we're going to be just fine because we're going to get opportunities. And by the way, we're really good on the outside. We have a really good tight end. We have good receivers. We have good backs. Somebody's going to win in 1-on-1. Know who you trust in your matchups and look to him. Option 1, option 2, get out, get rid of the ball, on to the next play.
Last thing for you. Vikings come home. It's a bye week after this international trip. Are they 4-1? Are they 3-2? Or are they 2-3?
I think we're 4-1.
There we go.
I think how we handle this road trip. I think from a leadership standpoint, from equipment standpoint, from everything that we've done on these travel trips, we've been prepared. We've looked prepared. We've played well. I see no difference here. I think KOC's leadership is important on these trips. I think his experience is important on these trips, and I think our team is built for this. We can beat teams several different ways. And I think when you are in a situation like this is why I like this team so much, is when you get to hopefully playoff time, is you have a team that can be versatile and win. Now we got to keep showing that, right? Because the week 2 clomp is still right there. We got to put 2 weeks together now that we can trust this football team, and let's win with defense. Let's win with running the football. Let's win with big plays on whatever it is. Find a way to get a win and move forward. I think we come back 2-0.
Cheers to you. Cheers to Grey Duck. Thanks for hanging out. I know you got to run, but we'll catch up with you hopefully next week.
You bet. Thanks, man.
That's Chad Greenway at Chad Greenway 52 via X. Vikings in Dublin this weekend, 8:30 a.m. kickoff. When we return, we'll chat with Mike Grimm, voice of the college squad, as the Gophers host Cali McManus and Rutgers on Saturday. You're home for all sports, the fan. Florida in for PA, 9 to noon. And War Machine brings us voice of the Golden Gophers, both hoops and the football team, Mike Grimm, at Mike Grimm, number 3, via X. How you doing, Grimmer?
Yeah, doing great. Bye week is in the rearview mirror, ready for football tomorrow. Shake the rust off, and Guardsy and DT and the rest of us will get ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, grand scheme of things in terms of shaking the rust off, they've certainly, I would assume, shaken the rust off of that Cal game by now. Huh?
Well, I was mostly talking about my own rust as an old man now. It takes a little longer.
You spent the week drinking tea with a little honey
and whatever you can do. I would hope so. I think it's true with any football or any sport it's mostly football when you deal with bye weeks. You go in to a bye week on a win, and it just is a whole different sense. Like, I'm not saying you relax, but you do get to catch your breath. You go in on a loss in a game that you would really hope to win, and you got to kind of sit in it, so to speak. Just sit there. And so those guys, I think they would have preferred not to have a bye week after the loss. I think they would have liked to just bounce right back last Saturday and try to get back into the winner's circle. But it stands, they had to kind of sit in it. They learned from it. There were some things that they didn't do very well in that game. They made some uncharacteristic mistakes at Cal, and now they've got an opportunity to right the ship.
We have PJ with PA on Mondays following games. And because it's a bye week, we've never had PJ on after a game into the bye week. That's just never happened, win or lose. But every time there's a loss into the bye, it's always, he's dodging them.
Yeah.
He's afraid to answer the tough questions. After that awful loss, talk to us about Coy. What's going on with Coy? The coach is dodging it. He's never joined into a bye week. That's never been a thing, but the fans were a bit restless.
I should look. I should look. I'm trying to remember. I think they usually win going into bye weeks. Maybe not, but if you've had a previous experience, they must have lost somewhere.
I don't recall. It is not the first time during his tenure that they've lost into a bye.
Right.
Speaking of Coy, though, I will ask you this, and it's not like you're in charge of this thing, but maybe we focus on defense with Coy and kind of the idea of, you appreciate what he could potentially bring. And I'm not saying that you don't eventually find your way back to it.
Yeah.
But I just, and this definitely is not entirely Coy Perich's fault, but I think about the idea of trying to implement him in all 3 phases, and now through 3 games with a bit of a sample size, really a 2-game vibe, given Northwestern State meant just about nothing. But I've seen on the back end of the defense, and again, it's not just Coy, but I've seen some struggles back there a bit. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, love Coy, made a huge mistake. That mistake's not going to define his football playing career. Well, maybe we just focus on the kid being the best safety he could potentially be.
I wonder, on the show that PJ did with JG and I here on Tuesday at the Tipsy Steer, PJ, and I kind of regret
name, by the way.
I regret not following up a little more because he kind of hinted at that a little bit, and we were kind of into the show a ways, but PJ said something like, "We've always said from even in the summer, we're only going to give Coy what we think he can handle," and I would say, I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was after the show I thought about it again. I'm like, we should have followed up more with that because I think he was kind of hinting at just what you said, that maybe they're going to pull back a little. Maybe he won't play receiver 6 or 10 snaps a game. I can't see them taking him off of punt returns. It's just too big of a potential weapon there.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Gargi and I were talking about this. He knows the rules. He knows how to return punts and how not to return punts.
He's proven he can.
Yeah, playing receiver 6 or 8 or 10 plays a game would not have made a difference on his poor decision to fair catch a punt at the 1. Like if he hadn't been in offense for 6 or 7 plays that game, and by the way, he did have a 22-yard catch in the game at Cal. That to me didn't cause it. That's not to say that they shouldn't reel it in a little bit. I don't know yet. I'm not ready to make that decision. If I were the coach, because he is such a weapon, the ball in his hands. Watching him in fall camp as a receiver. It was pretty impressive. So it's still tantalizing concept to me.
The talent's there.
And then the other one where he tried to pick it up off the bounce, that went against the team rule that if it's low, what was PJ's rule? What did he say? Low and something, let it go. Hot and low, let it go, or something like that.
Okay.
If it's rolling in there, let it go. Well, he didn't. So you don't fair catch it at the 1 or 2, and you don't scoop it by their rules. So he just took matters into his own hands, and those were mistakes. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think playing 6 or 8 plays on offense would have changed the outcome of those 2 plays. That's not to say, though, that maybe there becomes a scattered brain aspect to it, right? As you know, the more you're asked to do, the more, at least with me, and maybe part of it's old age for me.
My wife tells me I'm not a multitasker.
Yeah, the more
That's
you're
what my
asked
wife
to do,
has said.
the more scatterbrained there's a possibility you get, the less focused on certain things, the more likely you are to forget to do something. Oh, I forgot to take out the trash. We had me doing 6 other things, you know, or whatever. So maybe there is something to it. I don't think if he had not played offense in that Cal game that he would not have made those mistakes. The other thing is, it's such a fine line. He had been sitting on a play. I remember watching the Cal, who'd they play the game before? Whoever they played the game before.
Northwestern State?
It was Texas Southern.
Oh, Cal's previous
Cal
game.
played Texas Southern. I watched that game, and they just kept throwing this little tight end. It was like a 6-yard hitch, just right on the slot, right on the seam.
All day.
And he was just, banging away on Texas Southern on this play. And They ran it a couple times, and then sure enough, Coy just jumps it. He's positioned. The ball leaves the quarterback's hand. It's a walk-in 50-yard pick 6. And of course, the Gopher defensive lineman gets a finger on it, and it ends up ricocheting behind him, and he still almost made the catch.
Yeah.
But he had it timed. It was beautiful. Right. Now listen to this, Nordo. This is the fickleness of football. If he makes that play and he runs it in, it probably wins the game for the Gophers. This was in the 4th quarter. They go ahead if he does it. It's a backbreaker, and he's Big Ten Player of the Week probably. Everyone's saying, "Oh, they jumped on the kid's back again." 2 plays later, that was a second down play.
It's the punt.
And he muffs the punt, and they go in and score on an 8-yard drive because he left him a short field. So that's the fine line from this kid as an All-American.
Yeah.
And this is probably the first time in the young man's life that he's been publicly criticized, right? I mean, the guy's never not performed well. And he's an inch. He's played it perfectly. He's jumped the little hitch. The throw's on the way. And it gets tipped, and he's going to have a pick 6, and everyone's going to say this kid is just a miracle worker and all this stuff, and then 2 plays later. So part of me thinks that some of it was because he's used to being a producer. He was frustrated. He's like, God, I had it.
Yeah.
We're going to win the game. So the ball's rolling. He's like, I'm going to pick this up. Even though that goes against the team rule of hot and low, let it go. And he looked up, missed it. It hit his leg like a shortstop when you look up too early. And the rest is history. And so for now 2 weeks, people are, what's wrong with Coy Parrish? What's wrong with Coy Parrish? Let's see how he responds tomorrow. Everybody within the programs talked about what a response he had. He felt obviously devastated by it. And that's the fickle nature. The other thing I'd say is how many times, a few times a year, not within just the Gophers, but over football, pro and college, you'll see a ball bounce, a kickoff, whatever, and the guy scoops. And everyone, when the ball hits the deck, everyone just for a split second kind of lets up, right? And if the guy scoops at the right time, he's going the other way. So he's probably thinking in his mind. I mean, we saw that. I mean, the invalid fair catch Iowa deal with Jajine, that ball bounced up in the air. Everyone kind of relaxed for a second, and then that kid's so talented, he just runs by. Luckily, it was, he did something that you're not allowed to do.
12-10, though.
12-10, and the Gophers get the win at Kinnick. But that's my point.
They have T-shirts for that, by the way?
They sold a bunch of T-shirts. Well, I don't even want to go down that road because then we're going to get tweets and emails. But they keep saying it wasn't a fair catch, right? That's what the T-shirt says. Remember in the World Series a year after, the guy holding up the sign behind home plate, it wasn't a fair catch?
Oh, yeah.
To which I answer, you're 100% correct. It was never a fair catch. It was called an invalid fair catch, which is invalid, which is why the ball should have been marked dead right there. But anyway, I digress. Back to Parrish. I think he'll respond. I bet he has a big game tomorrow. I hope he does.
I hope he does, too. 11 a.m. kickoff.
And they may reel in a little bit some of his duties. If he didn't play offense tomorrow, I wouldn't be shocked. But if he's out there, that wouldn't, I'm not, it was so tantalizing to see him run those routes in fall camp, man. I'm telling you, like if you just dropped in as let's say you're a guy that knows football but doesn't know personnel and you stopped and you'd watch and practice, you'd be like, who's number 3, your receiver there? He looks to be your best receiver. Well, he doesn't even play receiver. He's our safety and he's just kind of moonlighting.
And then Ron Johnson peeks out of the stands. Well, that used to be me.
I was that guy once.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then Eric Decker showed up and broke all my records.
With Callie McManus in town, Shiraka in town, and Rutgers, is there a feeling of, like, Callie McManus, he bested the Gophers, I believe, a year ago, and now PJ's team, like, is there any element to this? Because I see it just from a distance of sorts, just social media and such, with Ethan Callie McManus now playing for Rutgers. It's almost, I feel there's an element of it where people, they root for Callie McManus if for no other reason than, like, it's an indictment of the decision to move on from him. Whereas I'm thinking I'm super excited for this game to see more development from Drake Lindsay. But there's that element of it is he used to be in our house. Now he's over there. Shiraka, of course, the connection here to Minnesota as well. How much does that all play into tomorrow?
I think, I don't know. I think that this is like, I said this to somebody else this week. It's almost like when you're competing against your brother or your cousins or what have you. You love them, you respect them. But when it comes down to it, you want to beat the crap out of them. Whether it's a pickup basketball game, a game of ping pong, whatever it is. I think there's a tremendous amount of respect with PJ Fleck toward Rutgers, particularly with Shiano and Shiraka and all the other connections. It's ridiculous. If we had a half hour, I think I could fill the whole half hour and all the. I mean, and I'm not even making it up. All the different connections. Like, think about the offensive coordinator at Rutgers was the offensive coordinator at Rutgers for Shiano when PJ was there as a receivers coach. He got fired. PJ gets hired at Western Michigan after following Shiano to Tampa Bay. That guy gets hired by PJ at Western Michigan, comes with him to Minnesota, leaves once for Penn State.
Oh, yeah, and he came back.
Comes back, leaves for Rutgers, and goes to work for the guy who fired him about 12 years earlier. Kirk Shiraka we're talking about. So he's been twice tenured here at Minnesota and with PJ in 2 different locations. Rob Smith was his first defensive coordinator. There's a whole bunch of connections. So I think there's a respect there. They absolutely, I mean, Corey Heatherman, last year's defensive coordinator, PJ stole him from Rutgers, and now he's at Miami doing good things down there. Got a huge pay raise. Gophers couldn't keep him because the money, it just isn't there like it is at Miami. So there's a lot of different factors that go in. So Danny Collins is now the new defensive coordinator for the Gophers, and he'll have a good duty. He'll have the task tomorrow to try to contain Callie McManus. He's 10th in the country in passing yards, Ethan is. They throw a lot. They throw the deep ball a lot, and so the Gophers will have to be ready for that.
Coy's going to be ready.
Coy will be ready. I think he will, and I think
he's going to get one from Ethan tomorrow. I'm feeling the bounce back from Coy. I think he gets one from Ethan tomorrow.
Ethan has one interception in the games. I think I'm just casually watching. It looks to me like they have simplified and I'm not saying that Ethan can't handle whatever, right, but it's become a quick 1 or 2 read deal.
Okay.
And when in doubt, just throw the ball deep to because they got a 6'6" guy and a 6'5" guy on the outside. And they win a lot of 50-50 balls. They did that in the first half against Minnesota last year. The Gophers totally shut Rutgers down in the second half, but a costly face mask penalty and a fumble deep in their own territory essentially spelled doom for the Gophers. But I think they've simplified it. It reminds me a little of the offense when Tanner was a quarterback, Tanner Morgan in 2019. A lot of those slants to Bateman and Chris Altman-Bell and Tyler Johnson. So many just quick one, the old
little two-step
read
go.
option, pull it, and then bang. And then when in doubt, just throw it up to the guy down the side. And I'm in favor. I wish more teams, I think more teams should do that, throw the deep ball. Because if it's caught, it's a 50-yard gain. If it's an incomplete, who cares? You might get a pass interference call. And particularly on third down, I'm in favor because if it's caught, it's a punt. It's a punt. Why teams don't do that more, I don't know. But they don't. Rutgers has decided they're going to use that. So the Gophers will have to be ready, there's no doubt. And Ethan, I think, through this system, has become a pretty efficient quarterback. And his athleticism, for whatever reason, it was kind of muted here. He was a high school hurdle champion in his conference, so you knew he could run. And he's become a little bit more of a runner. He had a running touchdown against Iowa, which was a really impressive run. And he hurdled a guy down by the 5-yard line to get into another scoring situation for their running back. So he's a little underrated as an athlete, too. But you're right. Ethan moves on. Gophers get Max Brosmer. That's a good experiment. And now Drake Lindsay, I'm high on him. I like him.
Time for a couple more. Just real quick, any vibe on if Darius plays? We asked PJ on Monday, what he does with the depth chart bid. And, 2
hours before kickoff, we'll find out.
We got
the question. I am not that optimistic that he'll play.
Okay.
Though, you remember when, was it Justin Jefferson? He was out 6-8 weeks with a hamstring.
I think he missed 7 games in 23.
Those are kind of similar. And he missed 6 games, he being DT, the new DT. Darius Taylor missed, I think, 6 games with a hamstring his freshman year. So luckily there was the bye week in between. And maybe it's a mild one. I don't know. But if I had to hedge one way or the other, I think they'll keep him on ice.
Okay.
Yeah. And let the others work.
With or without Darius Taylor, this is a game the Gophers should win tomorrow, right?
It's an important game, just in the sense if you want to, and I'm not talking when PJ in the non-conference or the preseason was saying, "Hey, be delusional, we can make the playoffs." That stuff for down the road if you can get there. I'm just saying generally, if you want a good year, you want to win 8, you want to win 9, you want to go to a nice bowl game.
Yeah.
These are the kind of I think Minnesota's 4-point favorite. I think I saw
4.5.
So
something like
in essence, it's a coin toss talent wise. If that's on a neutral field, that's about a toss-up as you can get. So those are the kind of games you got to win. Minnesota was 3-4 in one-possession games last year, and everyone talks about that as a criticism. One-possession games are usually a coin toss, so you lost one additional coin toss out of 7. You could be 1-6. Like last week, they said Cal. A part of or 2 weeks ago, they talked about Minnesota was 3-4 in one-possession games. So I looked it up. Cal was 0-5. So, it's not Cal's going to win because they're 0-5 the year before in one-possession games. So, by nature, it's kind of a coin tossy deal. So this, to me, is kind of a coin toss. And if you want to end up with 8 or 9 wins, you got to win more coin tosses than you lose. Yeah. And it's in your control. Go play well and you'll win. Look, if they go for football and play well, they're going to win that game. But you got to do that. You got to produce. So yeah, I think there's some really important games coming up. Michigan State game the same way. That's a home game. You got to protect home field edge if you're going to do that. But
is Joe Rossi there?
Joe Rossi's the defensive coordinator. They've
6
got a
degrees of PJ just rolling in every week.
And another Rutgers. They got him off the Rutgers staff when PJ first got here as the linebacker. Gophers coach. So again, like I said, I could fill a half hour on the Rutgers Minnesota connections. It's remarkable. They've only played. This will be the 5th time they've ever played, but it seems like the history so much that it's a big rival, and so I think it'll be fun. There's no doubt guys respect Athan. PJ respects Athan. It is what it is. I think they were more open this week about talking about the connections. It seemed last week that the Gophers didn't want to talk about it.
Well, it wasn't within the confines of the championship week now.
Exactly.
Because now it's a talker.
Yeah, and he's having a nice year, so we'll see what happens. But yes, you're right, Nordo. This is a big game. If the Gophers play the way they can play and play sharp and crisp, they should win the game. But again, when you're a 4-point favorite at home, that means the odds makers are thinking you're pretty even, right?
Yeah.
So you got to do what you got to do. And if you want to end up in a nice bowl game, you want to end up with 8 or 9 wins, this is a game you got to get.
Absolutely. Looking forward to hearing you and Daryl and Guardsy on Saturday, my man. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah,
I know you're heading to practice.
We're going to go watch practice right now. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Sounds good.
Mike Grimm, voice of the Gophers. You're going to get to hear him again on the call with Daryl Thompson and Justin Guard. Tomorrow it's an 11 a.m. kickoff, pregame starting at 9. And we need this W. Let's make this a 3-in-1 operation tomorrow at Huntington Bank Stadium at Mike Grimm and the number 3 via X. When we return, Gopher Connections continue on. Ron Johnson, Fox 9, former Gopher himself. And we're going to chat focus. Maybe we get into the maroon and gold a bit, but the focus, of course, is Sunday morning, Kegs and Eggs, the Vikings facing the Steelers at Croke Park in Dublin, Ireland. We're going to chat with RJ around the corner. Second hour next on The Fan.